Have you ever noticed how animals frequently appear in ancient stories? In Norse mythology, they aren't just background characters. Far from it. Wolves, snakes, ravens, and even talking squirrels play essential roles in the sagas of gods and heroes. But why did these creatures gain such prominence in Viking legends? What does this reveal about the way the Norse viewed the world around them? In this video, we will explore how these animals helped explain the unknown, symbolize forces of nature, or even represent human qualities such as courage, betrayal, wisdom, and chaos. In a culture where nature was unpredictable and often hostile, animals became a bridge between humans and gods, between the real world and the spiritual one. The idea here is to go beyond the battles and Valkyries, to show that animals, with their deep meanings, were just as important as any warrior on a battlefield. And the most fascinating part is that all of this is told in a light, engaging way, full of intriguing stories and captivating symbolism. If you're into mythology, Viking culture, or simply want to better understand why a wolf could signify the end of the world, or why a raven was more trustworthy than many people, stick with me until the end. By the time this video is over, you will see these creatures from a whole new perspective. In the Norse sagas, it's not uncommon to find animals in the role of guardians. They are not just physical protectors, but spiritual ones as well. These beings are often connected to gods and heroes, serving as symbols of strength, loyalty, and vision beyond the visible world. One of the most striking examples is Jerry and Freki, the two wolves that accompany Odin, contrary to the common image of wolves as dangerous beasts. Here they are faithful companions, sitting beside the god during feasts in Valhalla. Odin himself does not eat the meat served at these grand banquets. Instead, he gives it to his wolves. This reinforces the idea that they are guardians, not just of the body, but of spirit and wisdom. Their presence beside the god of war and knowledge symbolizes instinct paired with intelligence. Another notable figure is Garmr, often described as a monstrous dog guarding the gates of Helheim, the Norse underworld. Garmr is the protector of the threshold between life and death, ensuring that the dead do not return and the living cannot enter. This role goes beyond that of a simple guard dog. Garmr embodies the concept of a sacred boundary, standing as a sentinel between two vastly different realities. The idea of the animal as a gatekeeper, a being that holds the line between realms, is powerful and recurring in Norse mythology. These guardian animals are more than just fascinating characters. They are reflections of a worldview where the animal is not just a beast, but a symbol, a metaphor, and even a spirit. Each creature carries with it meanings that touch on protection, transition, and the mysteries of existence itself. For fans of role-playing games, this logic might sound familiar. It resembles the concept of familiars, those spiritual animals that protect or guide magical characters. But here the concept is deeply rooted in ancient beliefs. In Norse mythology, the transformation of gods and heroes into animals is not unusual, and this theme reveals much about the flexibility and raw power of nature. The gods, as divine beings, are not limited by human form. They can take on different shapes, often animal ones, to fulfill their missions or face adversities. This speaks volumes about how the Norse viewed the natural world as something fluid, adaptable, and magical. One of the most iconic examples is Loki, the trickster god. Known for his shape-shifting abilities, Loki often transforms into animals to accomplish his goals. In one of his many schemes, Loki becomes a mare to distract the stallion Svalfari and prevent the completion of a magical fortress. While in mare form, Loki ends up mating with the stallion and later gives birth to Sleipnir, the eight-legged horse that becomes Odin's steed. This strange and fascinating tale is more than just a trick. It is a story about transformation, adaptability, and the unpredictable nature of divine power. Odin, too, is known to transform into animals. In various myths, he changes form to gain wisdom or interact with the human world. One of his most symbolic transformations is into a raven. Ravens, in Norse culture, are not just birds. They are emblems of knowledge and foresight. Odin's two ravens, Hugin and Munin, are his eyes and ears across the realms. They represent thought and memory, and they travel the world each day to bring back information to their master. These birds are not just messengers. They are spiritual extensions of Odin himself, illustrating how closely gods and animals are tied in this mythology. When animals appear in Norse stories, they are never there just for decoration. Each creature carries a strong symbolic meaning. Animals often represent forces that are both natural and deeply human. They reflect qualities like strength, wisdom, loyalty, unpredictability, and death. Take the wolf, for example. This animal is perhaps the most potent symbol in Norse myth. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf born of Loki, is destined to play a key role in Ragnarok, the end of the world. The priest Fenrir represents uncontrollable chaos and raw power. The gods try to bind him, knowing that he is a threat to their existence. But Fenrir breaks free and ultimately kills Odin. The wolf here is not just a villain, he is a symbol of fate, of forces that even the gods cannot control. In contrast, the stag represents a very different aspect of life. Associated with the great tree Yggdrasil, the stag symbolizes renewal, growth, and the cycle of nature. Its antlers, which fall off and grow back, are visual metaphors for death and rebirth. Unlike the wolf, which brings an end, the stag signifies new beginnings and continuity. Other animals also hold powerful meanings. The bear, often linked to raw strength and courage, was revered by Viking warriors. The concept of the berserker comes from this connection. These warriors believed they could channel the spirit of the bear to become invincible in battle. The raven, as we have already seen, stands for wisdom and prophecy. Horses, too, are crucial. Sleipnir, with his 8 legs, is a symbol of transcendence, capable of moving between worlds and realities. Animals in Norse mythology are not just characters. They're embodiments of ideas and forces. They represent emotions, truths, and spiritual lessons. Through them, the Norse people expressed their beliefs about the world, nature, and human existence. But animals in Norse mythology are more than metaphors. They are often seen as spirits or spiritual agents. This belief in animal spirits was deeply woven into Viking culture and shamanic practices. Many Norse people believed that animals could serve as guides, protectors, and even embodiments of the divine. Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, exemplify this belief. They are more than birds. They are spiritual messengers who embody parts of Odin's consciousness. They reflect the Norse understanding that the line between the physical and spiritual was thin, and that animals could cross and navigate both realms. Bears were also seen as powerful spiritual beings. In Norse shamanism, bears held a sacred status. Warriors known as berserkers would enter trance-like states believing they were becoming bears in spirit. This connection gave them supernatural strength and fearlessness. The bear was not just a symbol of strength, but a spiritual ally. Falcons, wolves, and other animals were also thought to serve as spirit guides. A warrior might feel a kinship with a specific animal, believing that their souls were linked. This spiritual connection could grant insight, protection, or power. The Norse saw animals as bridges between this world and the next. They were not separate from the divine, but were an integral part of the sacred order. Through their relationships with animals, Norse people found connection to the cosmos and the cycles of life and death. These beliefs have endured. Even though centuries have passed since the Viking Age, the symbolic power of these animals remains strong in modern culture. Today, films, television shows, books, and video games continue to draw on Norse mythology and its animal symbolism. In popular series like Game of Thrones, we see direct references to the bond between humans and wolves. The dire wolves of House Stark are clear homages to creatures like Fenrir and Jerry and Freki. These wolves symbolize loyalty, instinct, and an almost supernatural connection to their human companions. Characters inspired by berserkers appear in countless video games, depicted as wild, powerful warriors who channel animal strength. The idea of animal transformation and spiritual power is still used to create dynamic, compelling stories. Odin's ravens continue to appear as symbols of wisdom and foresight. Whether in comic books, fantasy novels, or blockbuster films, they carry the legacy of Norse storytelling into the modern world. This lasting influence speaks to something timeless. The animal figures of Norse mythology still resonate with us because they tap into fundamental truths about life, nature, and humanity. They remind us that we are not alone in the universe, that the natural world is filled with meaning, and that wisdom often comes in unexpected forms. Ultimately, Exploring animals in Norse mythology opens up much more than fascinating stories. It reveals a worldview in which everything is connected. Humans, gods, animals, and nature are part of the same web. The stories of Fenrir, Sleipnir, Garmr, and others are not just myths. They are lessons about the human condition, about balance, chaos, courage, and renewal. By paying attention to these animals and their roles in Norse legends, we gain insight into how the ancient Norse understood their world. And perhaps we also find ways to better understand our own. These symbols continue to inspire, teach, and challenge us, showing that even in ancient times, people knew that to understand life, one must look not just to the heavens, but to the animals walking beside us.